How's it going, you awesome bunch of bakers? Hope you're having a great day so far. Welcome back to another video. Today we're making an extreme sandwich bread with a hydration of 100%. So let's get in the kitchen, check it out. This isn't the first 100% hydration recipe on the channel. We've done a couple before, but those were rather flat, kind of ciabatta style. I had never tried making a 100% hydration sandwich loaf. Someone asked me to do it a while back, and now I gave it a go, and it turned out amazingly. The texture of this bread is almost like a crumpet. The crumb is super moist and extra flavorful, even though it's only made with white flour. A very simple, yet very unique recipe. The 100% hydration crumpet loaf. You should definitely try this. So let's get right to it and let me show you how it's done. We have a very simple set of ingredients. White bread flour, yeast, salt, a little bit of olive oil, and water. And as most of you know, 100% hydration means that there are equal parts flour and water. For the equipment, we'll need a bowl, scales, a dough scraper, a temperature probe, and a baking tin. My USA pan Pullman loaf tin is coming in handy again. This is by far my favorite baking tin. If you are using a regular 2-pound loaf tin, I would suggest reducing the amount of ingredients by 25%, otherwise the dough will spill over. Pullman tins are quite a bit larger than regular tins. If you are interested in getting this particular tin, you can find it in my Amazon shop, link down below. Okay, let's get right to it. And first things first, it's temperature control. My kitchen is around 21 degrees Celsius or 70 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm aiming for a final dough temperature of around 25 degrees Celsius or 77 degrees Fahrenheit. So I warmed up my water slightly to get there. I decided to use my largest bowl for the initial mix to make my life easier. Okay, so in your bowl, pour the water, add the yeast and the salt. Give them a good mix. Make sure to dissolve the salt completely and hydrate the yeast. Do not add the olive oil at this point. It will be far more difficult to get any structure into this dough if we added the fat at the beginning. Okay, once you don't feel the salt scraping against the bottom of the bowl anymore, add the flour, then grab your dough scraper and then mix it to a dough. Usually, we would only mix until there's no dry flour left. But this time, mix for a little bit longer past that stage, just to get the gluten going. I kept on vigorously mixing for another 30 seconds or so. It does not look like much of a bread dough now, does it? It's more like batter, but that is going to change after we give it a few folds. Okay, I'm going to transfer the batter or the dough from my largest bowl to the bowl I usually use. To make it easier to perform the first fold later, I poured the olive oil into the bowl and swirled it around. Now pour the runny dough into the oily bowl and then take its temperature. 25 degrees is what I was aiming for, and 25 is what I got. Now this thing's ready for the fridge, so cover it up and chill it down for 30 minutes. When making bread like this, cold fermentation is the way to go. It'll just make life a lot easier and we'll get a better result from it. After the first 30 minutes of chilling, remove the dough from the fridge, wet your hand with water, release the dough from the bowl and then fold it over itself whilst going around in a circle. It'll be extremely loose, stretchy and soggy, and it'll definitely not tighten up straight away. Now I'd suggest folding it over itself for about 30 to 40 times. If your hand starts sticking, just wet it with some water again. A quick note on the flour that I'm using, which is the flour I always use in my videos. It is strong white bread flour with a protein content of 13%. If your flour is weaker, you may not be able to make a 100% hydration loaf, or at least not one like the one I'm going to show you in the video. I would suggest dropping the hydration to 80, maybe 85%. Test it out and only then move up. Okay, after the first fold, pop the dough back into the fridge for another 30 minutes of chilling. And then 30 minutes later, remove it from the fridge and perform the second fold. And that'll go pretty much the same as previously. Wet your hand with water, release the dough from the bowl, and then fold it over itself whilst going around in a circle. You won't need to fold it as many times as during the first fold. I only did it for about 9 or 10 times here. And at the end, I picked the dough up and turned it over. I know that there isn't much of a seam here, but I still like to place it upside down once I'm finished folding. Okay, second fold done. Let's cover the dough up again, place it back into the fridge for another 30 minutes of chilling. And then once again remove it from the fridge for fold number 3. And as you can see, all the olive oil has completely disappeared. It's absorbed into the dough. Okay, third fold done, but let's repeat this one more time. After the final 30 minutes of chilling, you should notice the dough being a lot more cohesive. It is a lot more stretchy and doesn't tear as easily. That's exactly what we need. We need it to be able to trap fermentation gas as well. After the final fold, we can do the cold bulk fermentation for around 12 to 24 hours. I think I left my dough in the fridge for about 18 hours. And as we can see, it has fermented beautifully. It has grown by a lot and it's so bubbly. And now we can perform the final shaping, which works exactly the same as the folds, because there isn't much else we could do. So wet your hand with water, release the dough from the bowl, and then fold it over itself. Be a bit more careful now, because you don't want to deflate it too much. I only folded it over itself about 6 times, and then I turned it over, just as previously. Before we place it in a tin, let's cover it in olive oil. This will not only prevent it from sticking, but also give it a nice toasty crust. Grab your dough scraper and release the dough from the bowl. You want to get the oil underneath it, ensuring that the whole dough is covered in oil. If you don't do this, it will also be difficult to lift it out because the dough will stick to the bowl. Okay, once you have released the dough from the bowl and make sure that it's covered in oil, you can lift it up and place it in a baking tin. Do it in one quick, smooth move. Grab it by the middle, lift it up and place it down into the baking tin. This tin may leak, so I'm placing it on a tray to avoid making a mess. The final proof will take around 2 to 2.5 hours. It should almost grow to twice its size. During the final hour of fermentation, preheat the oven, 250 degrees Celsius, 480 Fahrenheit, fan on. We'll start the bake off nice and hot to get a nice toasty crust. Just look at how well it proved. This bubbly baby is ready for the oven. If you don't have a fancy baking tin with a lid, you can use some foil instead. Alternatively, you could also bake this in a tray, make a 100% hydration focaccia or a 100% hydration tray pizza. If you're gonna bake this big old loaf in a tin, place it in the oven. The initial bake will take 40 minutes, and as soon as you close the oven door, turn the temperature down to 200 degrees Celsius or 390 Fahrenheit. After 40 minutes of baking, take the tin out of the oven, remove the lid, and then remove the loaf from the tin, and then place it back into the oven for another 10 minutes of baking, just to finish off the crust. If your baking tin is a little bit sticky, I would suggest lining it with some baking paper. But there you have it, 10 minutes later, our 100% hydration sandwich loaf is ready. I decided to serve it upside down. I kinda liked this look. This bread turned out so much better than I expected. I did not expect the crumb to have such a unique texture and the crust to be so crispy. The inside really is like a crumpet. It is moist, it is chewy in a good way, and has such a pronounced fermented flavor. I think that cold fermentation plus high hydration is a winning combination. Most of us love a nice sandwich bread. You can find plenty of sandwich bread recipes on my channel. If they are made with white flour, usually they're soft and supple. If they're whole wheat, they can be a little bit denser, but they are never like this. This is very much unique. And now I'm thinking of ways of modifying this recipe, adding some herbs into the dough or some toasted seeds perhaps. I really encourage you to give this recipe a go. It is such a simple project, but the result is super interesting. Experiment with some modifications. And don't forget that you can post pictures of your bakes in our Flickr group. We have a nice little community of bakers there, so go check it out. You'll find a link to it in the video description or in the pinned comment in the comment section below. So what do you think this recipe? And what is the highest hydration bread you've ever made? Let me know down in the comments. You want to see videos like this one? Click over here. Subscribe to the channel, click right here. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.